Austin said in Bible study a couple of weeks ago, I shared a small portion of my testimony. In fact, probably everybody in here has heard parts of my testimony in talking, standing up here, delivering a sermon, standing over here, delivering a brain just stopped. I hate it when that happens. But any auditory, thank you. I hate it when the brain does that. But I'm going to start from the beginning and take you through my journey. My dad was Hebrew, but he did a horrible, horrible thing, and he married a Gentile. So when I was born, I was christened in the Presbyterian Church. End of church, end of God. Years later, growing up in the swamps of South Carolina, I figured out real quick, this can't be just happening. Only a God could do this. The beauty of the forest, the beauty of the lake I grew up on, the animals, that whole environment was my church as a young child. We did attend a Methodist church in the town that was 3 miles away from us where I grew up. I was a member of the Royal Ambassadors, the RAs, but that was mainly so that I could go camping. Because the leader of the RAs was also the leader of the Boy Scouts. And some of the Boy Scouts and RAs were, intermingled, but when they camped, they all camped together. And they were great. We had some serious capture the flag games in the middle of the night out in the middle of the woods. Anyway, we moved to Charleston. My mother worked in Charleston, and she was driving about 55 miles one way every day to work. And she finally said, boys, I hate to do this to you, but I'm moving you to Charleston. And a little area in North Charleston where I went to high school, there's a young lady down the street, became very, very good friends with her parents and her older brother, and Gene was much, much older than Nancy. At any rate, Miss Burke, Miss Tina, was a devout Christian, almost to the point where it would scare off people like me. And she was Southern Baptist, and there was a revival that came to their little church down on the river. And I'm talking little church, just a tad bigger than this, right down on the edge of the river. And of course, I'm chasing Nancy. So if Miss Tina wants me to go to a revival, and gets me closer to her daughter, yes ma'am, I will be there. And it was a 2-day revival. The second day of the revival, the second night of the revival, there was an altar call. And somewhere during that altar call, I got out of my seat and headed to the altar. But I don't remember making the decision to do that. I don't remember getting out of my chair. I didn't have a conscious recollection till I was almost 3/4 of the way to the altar. And of course, my first question is, what are you doing, stupid? But I went through the altar call. Later, I was baptized into that little Baptist church. Started attending an old Methodist church because they had a basketball team and I played basketball. Then came graduation, and then came the military. And much like Dave said, it's amazing how you can take off on a direction after you're in the military, and particularly for as long as I was. When my wife and I came back from Germany,
I'm sorry.
we were in a little town of Dumfries, Virginia. By then, we were Southern Methodists, which if you don't know the difference between the United Methodist and the Southern Methodists are very conservative, very conservative. They make the United Methodists look like a cult. But at any rate, we went to this little Methodist church there in Dumfries, and the pastor, who was only there for 2 weeks because he had just been posted to another church, his first sermon that we heard stuck with me. And it had to do with doing. We're human beings. but we should be human doers. He told the congregation of a story where he was at the hospital on visitation. One of the saints in the church was not well, and everybody knew she was going home soon. And he had 2 meetings. And it's like, how long should I? How long should I? Finally, he gave up on the meetings. And he sat there for 2 hours and just held her hand. Nobody seemed to miss him at the meetings. And he decided, quit being and start doing. Serve people. Help members of the church, help each other. And that sermon stuck with us, particularly me. But not enough to make me jump back over again. I'm still going to church. I've sung in choirs. I've sung in 2 small gospel groups. I've done a whole lot of things in church. That church in Virginia, I was on the board of directors and actually was president 1 year. So I've always been a member of the church. But that being a member was up here. It wasn't here. And then my wife had a couple of heart attacks and we moved to Florida because you can't live in the DC area on 1 income. It just won't work. I don't care what your income is. But we came back to Florida and started going to the Methodist Church in DeBerry, right there on Highlands. And they had, at that time, the Alpha program. I don't know if any one of you all have ever done it, heard of it, read into it, but it's a fabulous program. And I decided to go to the Alpha class. But again, I'm thinking with my head, I'm going there to meet people in the congregation, to become more of the church family. Well, a strange thing happened during that, I think it's 14 weeks. I met Jesus Christ. And it was quite an eye-opening because things began to click. Throughout my time in the church, I've heard people, I'm walking with Christ, I'm doing, and I'm going, yep, right, okay, I had no idea what they meant. I didn't know what walking with Christ meant. But through the Alpha course, I met Christ. And it was a wonderful meeting. And I often told him, I said, waited a little long, did you? Because now I'm getting old. But at any rate, went through the Alpha course. Great, learned a lot. Went back to the next Alpha course as a helper in the small group discussions. Went back to the next Alpha course as a leader. Then the next Alpha course as a leader. And then the church made me head of the Alpha program. And I ran the program for a couple of years. And it was fabulous because every class I learned something different. Nicky Gumbel, who is a pastor from the Church of England, is the head of Alpha. He started it. God led him to do that. It is now a nation or worldwide organization. And I think it was in 2012 or 13 that the annual Alpha conference was held in Orlando. So us people from the little Fort Church, we get to go because it's just down the road. One of the things in an Alpha course, I just kind of hit on myself a little bit, is we have a whole weekend devoted to the Holy Spirit. Starts on Friday, goes through Sunday. And all we discuss is the Holy Spirit. All we talk about is interaction with the Holy Spirit. And people have had the Holy Spirit descend upon them in the Alpha courses. It's something to see, something to witness. In the case of the Alpha conference, Nicky had met a bishop from a church in Africa, and they became pen pals. They met in an airport somewhere in the world and became pen pals. To kick off that conference, we had a satellite link up with them in Africa, and they had 1,500 people that came together to pray for this conference and this meeting. And of course, we probably 400, 500 attending the conference. And I made up my mind going into that I was going to pray very hard because Nikki had said, we need to make sure the Holy Spirit comes upon this conference and leads and guides us. And so I'm praying for the Holy Spirit to be at the conference. Because one of the things that has always had bothered me up to that point is, yes, I accepted Jesus Christ. Yes, I love him. Yes, he forgave me, I think. I mean, I know who I am. I have a hard time with me. But it was always a question, am I forgiven? Well, we went into the prayer on the Holy Spirit, and sometime during the prayer, again, no conscious recollection of it, and I didn't know it until Nancy and Bill, who were with me from the church, put their arms around me. But I had both my hands over my eyes, and I was crying. Because what had happened is as I was praying for the Holy Spirit to be with everyone, the Holy Spirit came to me and said, you are forgiven. Because everything I'd ever done in my life, every rotten thing, just went tooting right across my eyes. And when it was done, it was all stark white. And then I realized I could feel Nancy and Bill hugging me. And I went, well, how about that? I now have the answer to the age-old question. Yes, I am forgiven. So, get right with God, get right with Jesus, get right with the Holy Spirit. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And I really, if you haven't, I really, truly hope you do. Thank you.